Once a year, on Christmas Day, for over 60 years, families up and down the country gathered around their TVs to watch the Queen's Christmas message.
When I was a kid, I kind of thought she was talking to me.
And in 2021, Queen Elizabeth II delivered her very last one.
The Christmas broadcast was, I think, the most personal that she ever made.
In a year which had seen the death of her beloved husband, Prince Philip, the Queen spoke with warmth and openness.
Although it's a time of great happiness and good cheer for many, Christmas can be hard for those who have lost loved ones. This year especially, I understand why.
Now, we reveal exactly what went on behind the scenes before the Queen delivered her final message.
There was a sense of excited nervousness that I could sense from the choir. All of a sudden, they are at Windsor, singing for the Queen's speech.
We hear from the people who helped bring that historic broadcast to life.
Would the central band like to play the national anthem before the Queen's Christmas message? And I said, of course, we'd love to. Great honour.
We discover how Her Majesty's Christmas broadcasts were made over the years.
And of course, you're working with the monarch and very closely with the palace press team. So it's a big responsibility. Also, it's really exciting.
And what was most important to the Queen and the people of Britain on Christmas Day.
Christmas for the Queen was a big deal. I mean, for her, it was all about family.
This is Queen Elizabeth's last Christmas message, Farewell to the Nation, and the story of how it all happened. For decades at 3 p.m. on Christmas Day, the words of Queen Elizabeth II were heard around Britain and the Commonwealth, potentially reaching up to a third of the world's entire population. In December 2021, Her Majesty prepared for what was to be her final address.
The 2021 Queen's Christmas broadcast was the point at which she spoke directly to you in your sitting room on Christmas Day, on the day where most people get to breathe out and sit down with family.
I think she spoke with directness and a simplicity that comes with age and also having been in the same place for such a long time.
The Queen's final speech was the 69th she had delivered over the course of her very long reign, in a tradition that had become part of the fabric of Christmas Day.
I welcome you to the peace of my own home.
A very happy Christmas to you all.
The Queen's Christmas speech is always many months in the making, and her final broadcast was no exception.
Well, the Christmas speech is a very unusual niche product in the public speaking world, because you know to the minute when it's going to be broadcast. One of the senior members of the household would write it. They would start preparing words on a page probably in early November, and then run that past the Queen and then get her ideas and polish it up.
Drafting was something that would take some time, and I think would begin in the autumn, perhaps with some ideas sketched out at Balmoral while she was on holiday. And then Philip was often the arbiter, but she always wanted to make a message that was personal, that summed up the royal year, but not in a political way.
Also involved in the early preparations for the Christmas speeches, other broadcasters. Traditionally, it was the BBC who hosted the Queen's Christmas speech. But in recent years, other broadcasters, including Sky and ITN, have been invited into the palace to produce the royal address, like this recording in 2012.
I'm quite nervous, really, because, it's quite a thing to be asked to do. The country stops to watch this thing. It is, by anyone's reckoning, a big deal. There is a lot of planning. This only really works if you work very, very closely with the palace press team. I think what we did initially was have a very jolly lunch with the Queen's Press Secretary and Chief of Staff. And that's really just to sort of get to know each other. And then you can get into, some of the more creative stuff about how you want to film it.
In 2021, as in previous years, the message was kept strictly under wraps, with its full contents not revealed to the public until the moment of broadcast.
The palace, and no doubt the late Queen herself, would have been extremely keen to keep it private and secret. In a world where information runs riot and runs rife at every turn, there are very few moments when there is something that is actually just keep this for the moment for which it is intended. So it would have been a complete spoiler for anything to have got out.
2021 was still dominated by the COVID pandemic. The Queen and a much smaller royal household formed HMS Bubble at Windsor Castle. This Christmas speech was delivered at a time when many around the country had lost loved ones. A particularly personal time for the Queen too, who had lost Prince Philip.
At Christmas time 2021 is a real hinge point towards the end of the late Queen's life. So it's almost exactly 9 months after her beloved husband has died at Windsor Castle, just a few rooms away from where she was doing the broadcast.
She managed to move from a moment of reflecting on really deep personal grief. And let's not forget that image of the late Queen sitting in St George's Chapel all alone because of the social distancing during the late Duke of Edinburgh's funeral. I think that image really, for me, sort of loomed large, actually, when thinking about that last Christmas broadcast, that solitary image.
A deep sense of loss ran through much of her message. The broadcast begins with Her Majesty speaking back in 1997, when the Queen and Prince Philip celebrated their golden wedding anniversary.
He is someone who doesn't take easily to compliments, but he has quite simply been my strength and stay all these years. And I and his whole family, and this and many other countries, owe him a debt greater than he would ever claim, or we shall ever know.
Although it's a time of great happiness and good cheer for many, Christmas can be hard for those who have lost loved ones.
She was speaking as a widow. But also I think if you're in your 90s and you're doing something like that, there's probably always a sense that it's valedictory. If it's not, it might well be your last one, even if it isn't your last one. So I think the Queen was signing off because she had that moment to speak very frankly and directly to the nation.
She connects with all of us, with every single one of us. She's not this grand person. She's suffering grief. So it's simple, but incredibly deep as a piece of connection.
She always took a situation like that and made it relatable to those who are watching at home. So it was the point at which she was connecting with families who'd also lost loved ones. She was very specific about that in what she said. And of course, that resonated very deeply, considering where we were in the pandemic at that moment.
As the Queen was shielding at Windsor Castle in 2021, her Christmas message was delivered from there, rather than the usual venue of Buckingham Palace. The castle is a place filled with history and many happy memories for her.
If you want to imagine a perfect royal castle, Windsor Castle is it. It almost is like a dream and like a fairy tale. So in Windsor Castle, the Queen had the accumulation of a whole lifetime of treasures, plus the treasures of the British royal family going back hundreds of years. So although Buckingham Palace was a perfectly nice sort of workaday family home, Windsor Castle was the place closest to Elizabeth II's heart.
What's really interesting is that bookends of the Queen's life were very much framed around Windsor, the backdrop of her teenage years, the most formative years of her young adult life, take place in Windsor. And then you scroll forward a magnificent 8 decades, and once again, the Queen is locked down in Windsor. Very few of us are still in our family home, or one of the places, obviously she had several residences for most of her life, that we consider a family home. And there's something rather beautiful about that, I think.
In that final Christmas broadcast, every word and every image carried meaning. Next, we uncover the hidden messages in the Queen's final speech, including a surprise decision about who would be singing a special carol that year. The Queen's final Christmas speech in 2021 was one of the most personal of her entire reign. At the heart of it were moving reflections on her late husband, Prince Philip, her strength and stay.
Although it's a time of great happiness and good cheer for many, Christmas can be hard for those who have lost loved ones. This year especially, I understand why.
The backdrop of the Christmas message is pored over every year. Whose photo is displayed, whose isn't, what items are on the table next to the Queen. And the Queen's last broadcast was especially rich with meaning. On the table in front of Her Majesty, there was just one photo of the Queen and Prince Philip, taken in 2007 to mark their 60th wedding anniversary.
In her very last Christmas speech, as we now know it, there was one family photo on the desk, and that was her and Philip. And nothing happens in the royal family by accident. What we are given is always heavily curated, and never more so than when it comes to the Christmas speech.
What I find really interesting is all of the unwritten stuff that goes with the Christmas broadcast. So it's quite often just seeing whose photographs on the table this year, how many of them are on the table this year when the late Queen was speaking. Maybe she's showing something from the royal collection. She showed a really beautiful illuminated script from a prayer book from the royal collection one year. So it's all of that is part of what the late Queen was trying to communicate, I suppose, and it's just really interesting, just sort of spying what else was in the shot.
There'd almost been an industry towards the end of the Queen's reign to look at who was pictured behind her. There's no doubt who her focus was on that year. Her focus that year was on Philip, and these very, very powerful images of him, and also powerful images of him and her.
There's a lot you can do with the image to reinforce the words as she says them. And people maybe will find the images, in a way almost that's the thing they may remember from the text rather than the actual words. But that's fine, because that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to create a mood, I think, for the country.
Woven into that carefully crafted mood for the Queen's final Christmas speech were many heartfelt tributes to Prince Philip, the man by her side for her entire reign.
But for me, in the months since the death of my beloved Philip, I have drawn great comfort from the warmth and affection of the many tributes to his life and work, from around the country, the Commonwealth, and the world. His sense of service, intellectual curiosity, and capacity to squeeze fun out of any situation were all irrepressible. That mischievous, inquiring twinkle was as bright at the end as when I first set eyes on him.
Amid the formality of monarchy, Prince Philip brought a sense of ease, lightening royal occasions with his wit, warmth, and famously irreverent charm.
I think we all quite like that about Prince Philip. It kind of just earths a little bit the sort of nervousness we have around the mystique of the monarchy. And she probably needed somebody like that, because I think she was quite formal, and he maybe subverted that a bit.
She looks back on the past and on Philip fondly, referring to his extraordinary dynamic personality, his smile, his ability to make fun out of every situation, and she refers to him very informally as Philip. Normally she referred to him as, my husband and I, or Prince Philip and I.
In that final Christmas broadcast, she talks to Philip's sense of mischief, of how they miss him, but also how they walk in his memory, how actually they are still living, they're still enjoying Christmas without him, because that's what he would have wanted. Remember her role, and this is in the wake of the pandemic when huge numbers of particularly elderly people have died prematurely. She's there to kind of anchor us and to make us, I think, feel a bit braver.
If you look carefully, you will find other nods to Prince Philip. The Queen was wearing a single chrysanthemum brooch, the same sapphire and diamond she wore on her honeymoon on the Broadlands estate in Hampshire in 1947.
By wearing the brooch, now as a widow, she's channeling her late husband and her relationship with her late husband. So you can see these echoes, if you like, of this, tremendously successful marriage. She's picking up on her young self. She's reminding us of her relationship with Philip, right back to those early honeymoon days in 1947.
It was a very touching beginning where you see her with Prince Philip, she looking beautiful and him looking very handsome, and that's a great story. And of course they were together for a very long time.
No monarch in British history, other than oddly enough Elizabeth I, used the symbolism of clothes and jewellery and kind of costume design more than Elizabeth II. Often very subtle, but in the case of this broadcast, not really subtle at all. It's a marvellous sapphire surrounded by lovely diamonds, and that's something that she wears repeatedly through the reign. It's one of her most favourite pieces, and a plain message from using the sapphire chrysanthemum brooch, a message of love.
What the Queen wore on her Christmas messages was always carefully considered. The royal household would work closely with the Queen to decide what she would wear. In 2021, it was a bright red woolen dress set against a Christmas tree behind her.
Mainly it's down to her dresser, if you like, when it comes to the actual clothes, which was Angela Kelly. They'll probably double check to make sure that whatever she wore didn't clash with the background. These kind of things obviously took planning, and, with all things, the Queen was involved in it from start to finish.
There was something very reliable about her, and even in this very last broadcast, she's very reliable, but she's doing something actually slightly different, which is the red dress. She was always quite bold in her colour schemes, and she was determined not to give a gloomy visual image, to look the part, to look good, the jewellery that we expected with this marvellous brooch. She wanted to put on a show for us, and that's both in how she looks and in what she says, which is upbeat and forward-looking.
There is also something incredibly reassuring about watching the 7 stages of man or woman in the case of the Queen. There we have this exquisite tableau or exemplar of how to live your best life and how to get old gracefully. And given that we have so few extremely old people who are public-facing, who have really any agency at all, there was something incredibly powerful about the Queen speaking to us as she increasingly walked into the extremities of old age.
I think she once memorably said, "I have to be seen to be believed." So those bright colours were there for a purpose. If you were going to see the Queen on one of her walkabouts, for example, I think the feeling was, certainly from the late Queen herself personally, that people actually needed to be able to spot her. And so she would wear these quite bright colours. And I thought that was beautiful in the last Christmas broadcast, that she wore this great sort of Christmas red, if you like.
From colours to costume jewellery, there were many extra touches in the broadcasts, including the music chosen. In 2020, NHS staff sang Joy to the World.
I think music is really important and very important to the monarchy as well. I think there is this sense that music brings us together. It's the universal language, right? A speech can be really powerful. But when there is a musical element that either follows it or comes before it, there is something more that us as humans feel.
The Queen's last Christmas speech was delivered in the White Drawing Room at Windsor Castle. One of the most frequently used rooms here, the setting for family wedding photos and audiences with well-known people. It's a grand room and still has a carpet originally fitted for Queen Victoria, all the way back in 1851.
The Queen, I think when she sits there in the White Drawing Room, in what we now know was her final Christmas, she is framed by this extraordinary, deeply personal and also magnificently national backdrop.
Windsor is absolutely vast. It's in 3 sections. There's the lower ward with the chapel, and then there's the bit which is both the most grand, the state apartments, and the most private, and these incredible rooms off the corridor, which are overlooking the eastern terrace. These were full of knickknacks. The Queen and Philip's whole life, their art treasures, but also lots and lots of personal stuff. And this was where Philip and Elizabeth spent most weekends in their married life, and this is where they retreated to in the last 2 years.
In the White Drawing Room, a large Christmas tree shimmered behind the Queen with more than 100 gold star decorations as she addressed the nation.
The tree behind it is beautifully decorated, and what you may not realise is that children from the local school come along to help decorate the tree, which is something the Queen was quite passionate about.
We made stars and they went on the Queen's Christmas tree. And the Queen loved it.
And I think for her, again, it's going back to the sense of bringing the community into the castle and getting them involved in Christmas. So it's not just about her own family and, you know, her children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren. It also extends into the local community, which she was also very much considered as her community.
And the Queen looked outside again when it came to the music to go with the message. The palace was clear. The choir closing the speech shouldn't be professional, but a true community choir, drawn from local voices.
I did ask the question, community choir or professional choir, which would you prefer? And they absolutely said community choir. And I thought, wow, this is huge. They were adamant that it had to be a community choir. And the reason they gave was that the Queen really wanted to hear a voice from the community. And so bringing people back together, galvanising the community, was something that was really important for the monarch.
Bringing people together. The Queen's message had become essential Christmas viewing.
I think it's a very British thing to do. It's been part of our upbringing. I remember we did it as kids with Mum and Dad.
But tradition was about to meet a new modern era, and the Christmas message was heading for a royal shake-up. The Queen's speech on December the 25th has become as traditional a part of the British Christmas as roast turkey and stuffing.
Families come together at 3 o'clock as part of the traditions of Christmas Day. I think even if they're not massive fans of the monarchy, it's literally like, what do we do at 10 a.m? What do we do at midday? What do we do after we've had our lunch or before we sit down to our Christmas lunch? Well, at 3 o'clock, there is that point in the day when many families would gather together for that moment.
My father, who was quite punctilious in such matters, felt that it was proper to stand for the national anthem when they played that. But I think that tradition died a death because we were all too drunk after a while.
Most people, through most of my life, would tune into the Queen's Christmas broadcast, which I suppose there was a dip in the middle of the reign, but it somehow became more popular and more important at the end of the reign. Maybe as we became more fractured as a society through those years with Brexit and COVID, maybe she seemed like the still small voice of calm, the one thing about Britain that hadn't gone wrong in the last 70 years that was always the same.
I think it's a very British thing to do. It's been part of our upbringing. I remember we did it as kids with Mum and Dad. I think we had a television in the 50s. It's part of the tradition of Christmas and tradition of this country. The Queen's our monarch, and to hear her speak about things is always very, I think, rewarding and warming.
The royal Christmas speech was a tradition first begun by the Queen's grandfather more than 90 years ago, in 1932, as the King addressed the nation live by radio.
Speak to all my people throughout the empire.
The start of the Christmas broadcast in 1932, recorded in Sandringham, is really a smash hit for monarchy. This is the extraordinary combination of our ancient royal institution combining with the magic of modern technology.
And the King was sent so many telegrams congratulating him, he decided to make it an annual tradition. Throughout the Second World War, King George VI, the Queen's father, spoke live every Christmas to offer a message of reassurance, and millions tuned in. Queen Elizabeth II made her first live Christmas broadcast in December 1952 from Sandringham. She was only 26 years old when she spoke live to the country and looked forward to her coronation.
I am speaking to you from my own home, where I am spending Christmas with my family. At my coronation next June, I shall dedicate myself anew to your service. But I want to ask you all, whatever your religion may be, to pray for me on that day.
And there's something incredibly vulnerable about this young queen. She actually asked people, pray for me ahead of my coronation. She was also a young mother, newly married. She didn't expect her father to die nearly as soon as he did. So there is sort of something slightly tremorous, timid almost, about the speech.
My memories of Queen Elizabeth go back to the coronation, actually. I was 7 at that time, and it was one of the first times I watched television. We went next door to the neighbours who had a small box television, and we sat and watched every minute of the coronation. And I also remember the mug that children got for the coronation and a bar of Cadbury's chocolate in a tin with the royal coat of arms on it. So I suppose for all sorts of strange reasons, I immediately felt a real affiliation, a bond with the Queen as she started as such a young person on this remarkable life of service.
From her first Christmas broadcast to her last in 2021, the Queen's life covered some incredible moments in modern television.
Elizabeth II's life encompassed the whole history of broadcasting. So radio and the BBC almost started about the same time as she was born in 1926. It's a kind of little observed fact that she was the longest-serving broadcaster in human history.
The time chosen for the Christmas broadcast was 3 p.m, the best time for reaching most countries from radio transmitters in Britain.
It's interesting that 3 o'clock was originally chosen when the broadcast was live, right in the early days, so that it could be watched around the Commonwealth in different time zones. I love the history of behind the fact that it's 3 p.m, but I suspect for a lot of people it might be that point in the day when, if they have their lunch a little early, then they might just sort of sit back and relax and watch and listen to the Queen.
I think one of the things they were very conscious in when they're drafting it is that everyone at 3 o'clock in the afternoon will have probably just had a significant lunch and a glass of something. So don't make it too heavy. You've got to be aware of what the audience is doing.
Just a few years into her Christmas broadcasts, there was a problem. The Queen was coming under growing pressure to be less formal and more up-to-date.
By the late 1950s, the early 1960s, massive societal change is afoot in Britain. And the Queen is seen to be sitting behind the curve. She was seen to be falling short, and people were beginning to publicly criticise her. It's no coincidence that just a few months later, you get the Queen in gold brocade, no less, addressing the nation not just on the wireless, but also on this super modern medium, the television.
It was Prince Philip who helped the Queen put the finishing touches on her very first televised Christmas speech. It was all change for the monarchy, and a moment that revealed the couple's strength as a team.
It's inevitable that I should seem a rather remote figure to many of you, a successor to the kings and queens of history, someone whose face may be familiar in newspapers and films, but who never really touches your personal lives. But now, at least for a few minutes, I welcome you to the peace of my own home.
The Queen spoke live from the Long Library at Sandringham in Norfolk. Sprigs of holly disguised the microphone on the table. The royal household hoped the decision to speak on camera would be well received. Millions tuned in. Luckily for all, it was considered an enormous success.
She was an incredibly empathetic and warm broadcaster. You really felt that this person was communicating to you, which is, people always say about television, you're not communicating to 20 million people, you're communicating to an individual or a family in their homes, and you're giving a message that you have crafted to them, which is subtly different each year. So whatever the trouble and strife, she always seeks to say something optimistic. And that's as true in her last Christmas message as it was in her very, very first Christmas message in 1952.
When I was a kid, I kind of thought she was talking to me. To say she was a natural, I think, doesn't quite cover it, because I think she just grew up with it. You know, she'd spent her whole life delivering down the microphone or down the barrel of a camera to the millions of people who were interested in what she had to say. And she just got really good at it, because her life was such a public life, I think. So to find something authentic at the heart of a life which has been lived so publicly is quite an impressive thing.
She's sort of made it all her own, really, in the way that she did it. And it's very calm, and it's quite hard to read, I think. You can't really read what she's thinking. She's got a way of doing it that is incredibly direct, but also somehow just keeps a little distance. And I think it's a really interesting thing to observe.
Each Christmas message was a careful balancing act. Warm but measured, personal, yet never revealing too much. The Queen's words were sincere but never sensational.
She's saying things she believes in. This isn't spin. And one thing, I understand they absolutely didn't want was sound bites, because sound bites are clever and witty, and that's not what this is about. It's about her talking to people in a very calm and careful way.
And for the broadcasters behind the speech, bringing the Queen's message to the world was a Christmas tradition in itself.
Clips go out to fellow broadcasters the night before. It's a really big thing. And of course, it goes everywhere around the world. I mean, there's a really sort of slick operation to deliver it all across the Commonwealth. So it's quite a sort of military operation to get it everywhere.
The late Queen was a global figure. It's not just the domestic audience, it's the whole of the Commonwealth and beyond, because especially in those latter years, and arguably early years too, she was a global icon, so the world listened. It wasn't just the nation listening.
We had this argument the other day, who's the most famous person that ever was, and the Queen was quite a strong candidate because, she had an international role. She was around for a very long time and her face was on stamps. But it did mean she had an unequalled opportunity to talk to people, preeminently in the Christmas broadcast, I think, which is why the simplicity of it and the brevity of it and the sincerity of it was so powerful.
She would, I think, try to find a language to nod to the fact that the world can feel an unsteady place, that, the country can sometimes feel an unsteady place, but we need to find a way to find unity.
Over the decades, as her family has suffered its own ups and downs, problems faced by the royals have sometimes echoed what's happening for people across Britain. In 1992, 3 of the Queen's children had separated or divorced. She called the year her Annus Horribilis. And she spoke at Christmas, just months after a devastating fire at her beloved Windsor Castle.
Like many other families, we have lived through some difficult days this year. The prayers, understanding and sympathy given to us by so many of you, in good times and bad, have lent us great support and encouragement. It has touched me deeply that much of this has come from those of you
who have troubles of your own. As some of you may have heard me observe, it has indeed been a sombre year. But Christmas is surely the right moment to try to put it behind us.
When you look back at just some of the transcripts of those speeches, you realise that you're charting modern British history through the late Queen's own eyes. Christmas 1992, her annus horribilis, as she'd called it. You know, she was very specific in talking about how grateful she had been personally for all the messages of support that she'd had from families who were enduring troubles of their own. So it was a remarkably personal moment for her.
Yet even in the hardest moments, like during her annus horribilis when the Queen made her Christmas address from Sandringham in Norfolk, her familiar presence, seen in the comfort of her own home, offered the nation a reminder that, despite uncertainty, hope endures.
Regardless of what's happening in the world, you know that you could switch on the telly after lunch on Christmas Day, and there will be a familiar face sitting in front of a Christmas tree, saying things that kind of suggest to you that maybe, even in an uncertain world, there is something that's valuable that endures, and that gives you hope.
But although the Queen was very much about tradition, she could also embrace new things when the opportunity presented itself. In 2012, she recorded her Christmas broadcast in a very different way for the first time, celebrating the success of the London Olympic Games.
We decided to do it in 3D because Sky was experimenting with a lot of 3D programming at that time. I was asked to do the 2012 one, which was a really, really good year because we had the Olympics, the Paralympics. It was the Diamond Jubilee. There was a lot of sort of good news about, wonderful pictures to look at and to refer back to. And doing it in 3D, that required a very particular sort of setup in terms of lighting, depth. If you look back at the film, you can see that there's quite a lot of depth behind where the Queen is, and there's the lighting across the carpets. I can remember it was quite a project, and indeed the decorating of the tree was pretty crucial and how it would look in 3D. So there's a lot of time and effort spent with the sort of finer touches.
I remember watching the opening ceremony of the Olympics and thinking, we've cracked it. Modern Britain, diverse Britain. We can do this. We can feel good about ourselves. The Queen manages to kind of set a tone. Is it set a tone or is it follow a tone? I mean, she was very well attuned to that stuff, I think. Perhaps all those meetings with prime ministers over the year. And in a sort of light touch kind of way, managed to kind of capture it.
When the Sky News team arrived to record the 2012 broadcast, they said Her Majesty was not feeling 100%. But of course, the show would go on.
We'd learned that she'd been a bit under the weather, but it certainly didn't show in the filming. She was very funny. We did get one interruption when an alarm went off, and she made a joke. I think she said, "Oh, maybe someone's gone over the wall." After we'd done the filming and we were clear of the recording, she asked if she could come and have a look at it in 3D. Because we had some monitors at the back where we were just checking that it had all gone to plan, and she came and had a look. She put on her 3D glasses with their diamond-encrusted Q on them, and we watched just 20 seconds or something like that of it. She seemed to really like it.
The Christmas broadcast that year included inspirational footage of Olympic and Paralympic winners on home soil.
That same spirit was also in evidence from the moment the Olympic flame arrived on these shores. As London hosted a splendid summer of sport, all those who saw the achievement and courage at the Olympic and Paralympic Games were further inspired by the skill, dedication, training and teamwork of our athletes. In pursuing their own sporting goals, they gave the rest of us the opportunity to share something of the excitement and drama.
You have to go away and edit and make it, look great, and add all the pictures, and then we then show it, obviously, to the press team, and indeed we showed this to the Queen herself some days before Christmas, so that they know exactly what was in it, and they thought it was absolutely lovely, as did she.
Coming up, we go behind the scenes at Windsor Castle as the musicians who played for the Queen reveal what really happened during her final Christmas broadcast. The Queen's annual Christmas speech was one of the few times Her Majesty shared her personal thoughts, reflecting on life, service, and the values that guided her through a changing world.
I think that you can't understand Elizabeth II without realising how profoundly important Christianity and her role as Supreme Governor of the Church of England, as Defender of the Faith, that was an official title, but it was incredibly personal to her.
Over the span of the Christmas messages which the Queen gave, there was great skill in how she presented her own faith and how she spelt out some of the key themes like forgiveness and compassion and hope, a really important theme, and the themes of reconciliation.
It's increasingly rare to hear any public figures discuss their personal faith, certainly not in the really detailed and personal way that the late Queen did.
In her last Christmas broadcast, the Queen reflected on new beginnings and the idea of hope for all of us.
That in the birth of a child, there is a new dawn with endless potential. It is this simplicity of the Christmas story that makes it so universally appealing. Simple happenings that form the starting point of the life of Jesus, a man whose teachings have been handed down from generation to generation and have been the bedrock of my faith.
The Queen is the defender of the faith, and I think she was a faithful woman, and that added to her credibility, and it also spoke to her generation.
From Windsor to the wider world, the Queen spoke as head of the Church of England and as our monarch. In these roles, she had become one of the most recognisable figures on the planet.
I always felt that when the Queen's speech was on, there was always something poignant that she had to say. And I think she was very much a queen for the people.
She explained many a time why Christmas was such an important family occasion, an occasion to pass on the baton, to hand on family traditions, but also to look out, and she said in that message, to look out for those for whom Christmas was a difficult time. Christmas isn't always easy. And therefore I think the message from the Queen was both an encouragement, but for some it was also a great consolation, actually.
I heard the other day that there were hundreds of letters would come into the palace after these messages from people saying, thank you so much, it was really touching, you really helped me, whatever. You know, people who are lonely, or people who've had their husband or family members die, or people who for one reason or the other just found that few minutes just to take time out from life, you know, very reassuring and very touching and powerful.
For many, the Queen's message was a source of comfort. While the royal family traditionally attended the Christmas Day service at St Mary Magdalene Church in Sandringham, it said the Queen herself would begin the day attending her own private service.
Well, again, what people may not realise is that on Christmas morning, before we even saw the royal family doing the famous walk to church, the Queen would go off to church on her own for a private service early in the morning.
The Queen's message of charity and unity wasn't reserved for Britain. It reached every corner of the world. And the Commonwealth was so often reflected as one of her greatest sources of pride and purpose.
Next summer, we look forward to the Commonwealth Games. The baton is currently travelling the length and breadth of the Commonwealth, heading towards Birmingham, a beacon of hope on its journey. It will be a chance to celebrate the achievements of athletes and the coming together of like-minded nations.
The Commonwealth was, when she was growing up, it was an empire, it wasn't a Commonwealth, and so the Commonwealth came along a lot later, and it was an attempt to try and create a new sense of at least friendship and partnership for doing things. You know, love to visit Commonwealth countries. It was something she really valued.
She was like the mother to all these people. She'd seen not empires go, regimes go and change, and she's very good. And she always have a one-to-one talk with the head of that nation, which was very important and nice to do.
And also, she seemed to really much enjoy the company of people who came from different parts of the world. It was really important to her. And one of the things I found most impressive about the Queen was just how much she strove to show Britain in its diversity, something that kind of celebrated difference.
The Queen was always driven by her sense of duty and service, something reflected just as strongly by the work of the Royal British Legion. Ahead of what became her final Christmas broadcast in 2021, the palace sought to mark the Legion's centenary by inviting a familiar face to open the programme. That call came to David Cole, former Director of Music to the Queen.
Would the central band like to play the national anthem before the Queen's Christmas message? And I said, of course, we'd love to. Great honour. Because the broadcaster had a meeting with Her Majesty the Queen and the team there, and they said, ma'am, it's the 100th anniversary of the Royal British Legion. Would you mind if we used the Legion band to play the anthem? And the Queen said, is my director of music there? And the broadcaster said, yes. And the Queen said, that'll be fine then.
From the East Terrace Garden at Windsor Castle, the British Legion's central band opened the Christmas broadcast for 2021.
I had a red concert jacket from the central band. The red is very vibrant for Christmas. So that's the first shot you get, is my face with the camera right up close, and it pulls out.
So the opening scene is sort of unexpected and dramatic, actually. And within the band, there are lots of people, young and old, and then you pull back from that, and there's this lovely traditional British English castle in the background. So that emphasises, I think, the point of what the monarchy is all about, really, which is this sense of very, very deep tradition, but also within that, keeping up to date.
And filming for the Christmas message was a very different process from what David was used to.
We must have played the anthem 20 times. And the Queen, she would have known it was going on and would have heard it, yeah.
During the recording, the band even had an unexpected visitor.
And I had to stop during it because Princess Anne's helicopter came in on the East Lawn. She'd been on royal duty somewhere, helicopter landed, as she got out, she waved at us, we waved back, and we did some more shooting.
That year's Christmas speech showed the sights and sounds of Windsor Castle, accompanied by the central band of the Royal British Legion. Powerful images broadcast around the world of a moment intimate and symbolic.
Oh, very proud. That's a bit of history, because we're a non-service military band who's done it, so I don't know whether it'll ever happen again.
As the national anthem launched that year's Christmas broadcast. Coming up, find out what the Queen and her family were doing at 3 p.m. on Christmas Day. Every Christmas, the Queen invited the country to share in her family's ups and downs through her annual broadcast. Viewers caught a glimpse of the traditions that meant the most to Her Majesty and all of us, even in the tricky year that was 2021.
We can still enjoy the many happy traditions, be it the singing of carols, as long as the tune is well known, decorating the tree, giving and receiving presents, or watching a favourite film where we already know the ending. It's no surprise that families so often treasure their Christmas routines.
Christmas for the Queen was a big deal. I mean, for her it was all about family, which was an important thing to her, but it was also about the tradition of Christmas. She believed, quite rightly, that Christmas is very much for the children to be involved as well.
Like all of us, Her Majesty and her family had some festive habits they enjoyed.
The Queen loved the kind of movies from the 50s and 60s. In fact, I believe that she enjoyed Oklahoma. Some of the movies that she enjoyed, which are obviously a bygone era, and apparently some of those songs brought back some great memories for her.
Children almost always get a mention. Sometimes even in a Christmas broadcast, she's speaking to children. So she very much pulls on her own family to embellish and underscore the idea of family being at the centre of Christmas.
We see our own children and their families embrace the roles, traditions and values that mean so much to us, as these are passed from one generation to the next, sometimes being updated for changing times. I see it in my own family, and it is a source of great happiness.
She talked a lot about children and the kind of traditions when it comes to Christmas. She was great with kids. Even at the grand age she was at, she was still very good with the great-grandchildren.
With 8 grandchildren and a growing number of great-grandchildren, Christmas gatherings would have been lively affairs.
For her, even though they did the traditional thing of opening the presents on the Christmas Eve, the children still had Santa come on Christmas Day.
People love the carols, they love the candles and the lights and the food and the family coming together and the presents for the kids and this sense of expectation. So, and that's as true of the royal family as it is of any of us. But I think that what the Queen did, and I suppose her father and grandfather before her, they knitted the royal family into the Christmas ritual.
The Queen's 3 p.m. broadcast wasn't just a tradition in homes across the country. It was also a tradition in her own. Her Majesty would quietly watch, along with the rest of the nation.
The Queen went into a separate room to watch the speech on her own. And I've been asked over the years, why did I think she would do that? And I think quite simply, when you do something, an interview like that, even though she'd have watched it, she'd probably want to go somewhere and just analyse it and take it in. But as you can imagine, if you sit in a room, you've got the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, there's a lot of noise, excitement. So going somewhere where you can be on your own, you can take it in.
A private moment for a woman who had spent her life speaking to the nation. This was a chance to listen. Also at the heart of the Queen's festive tradition was music. In 2021, the Palace chose to invite the Singology Community Choir from London to close the show.
So Singology Community Choir are a group of choirs that exist in London, and they are open to absolutely anyone. So anybody can just sign up, turn up and be part of a wonderful musical experience. And the ages range from about 20 right the way through to 80, 85. So it is open to absolutely everyone, super diverse and super inclusive for anybody to join.
When the call came to take part in the Queen's Christmas broadcast, there was no hesitation. Every member of the choir wanted to be involved.
I think at the time the Queen wasn't very well, and so I think there was this sense that, you know, this was something that we really wanted to do because we've known that monarch for all of our lives, and so actually there was a real sense that this was a sense of duty. We wanted to do this. We wanted to honour her in her Christmas speech.
So magical, like everyone coming together, getting all dressed up, and like that sense of community and family. It's really felt here today.
I think you have moments where you just look at where you are and think, oh my goodness.
To come here and do this tonight is just the most amazing thing for them. It's just an opportunity that you're never going to get. You know, I mean, this is not really something that they thought they would come to a choir and have to do. So it's a joy, and it's a joy for me to lead them through this experience.
From the heart of Windsor Castle, in order to capture the perfect performance for television, the choir sang the carol over and again, even hoping for a quick introduction to the Queen herself.
There was talk prior to the day that the Queen may be there. And so everybody waited for, that moment. But sadly, it didn't happen because we were told that she wasn't so well on the day. So we both recorded the audio, which is all of the sound. We recorded that at the same time. And we recorded all of the visuals that everybody saw. Now, we would have done this a number of times. I think we probably sung it through, I would say 25 times. And I think just the whole occasion and being at Windsor was something that just kept everybody's spirits up. There was a sense of excited nervousness that I could sense from the choir. Some of these guys have only been in the choir for 5 weeks, and all of a sudden they are at Windsor, singing for the Queen's speech.
To make Her Majesty's final address even more poignant, the carol performed was particularly special to her.
As the carol says, the hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight.
Carols definitely define Christmas, the birth of Jesus Christ, but also those warm carols that just make you feel like you want to curl up in front of a fire. Those are the really, really important things that carols bring.
And the carol, O Little Town of Bethlehem, that was chosen that year, speaks of light emerging from darkness and of hope found in the most ordinary of places.
The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. Now, without explaining it, I took it both at a very personal level. She talked about her fears. She talked about her hopes for the future.
Bethlehem was a kind of nowhere place, really not an important place at all. And in its dark and dreamless streets, nothing much was happening. And then, of course, for us, the most important thing that ever happened there. And a reminder, if you were sitting watching that broadcast in some tough little street, in some tough little town that struggles, that it was in a place exactly like that this thing happened. And if it happened there, it could happen here.
Christmas is a really great time for us all to get together and sing, because carols are universal. You're going to sing along because you remember singing it when you were a child, and therefore it stays with you right the way through to your senior years. And so I think it's something that absolutely brings us together, and it's a great leveler. You don't have to be amazing at singing a carol. A carol is just a carol. It's very simple in its construction melodically.
In her last Christmas speech, the Queen's chosen carol became something more. A chance to wish everyone at home her very best wishes.
I wish you all a very happy Christmas.
Still to come, a look forward to the future of the crown. In her final Christmas message, the Queen had one last surprise up her sleeve. The Queen used her final Christmas speech to look back and cast forward to her incredible milestone jubilee.
And February, just 6 weeks from now, will see the start of my Platinum Jubilee year, which I hope will be an opportunity for people everywhere to enjoy a sense of togetherness, a chance to give thanks for the enormous changes of the last 70 years.
In that last Christmas message, she also talked about her Platinum Jubilee, and looking forward to that must have been partly aware that her life was coming towards its close, but also she wanted again to present it to us as a moment when we could come together and celebrate the richness and the giftedness of her life of service.
I think in a way it was sort of a perfect thing for her to be able to talk about in that last Christmas broadcast, because she said, right, let's look ahead. I've got my Platinum Jubilee. We will be celebrating this.
And in celebrating 70 years on the throne, the Queen was also aware of the generations who will follow her.
the last great metaphor of the speech, which is the metaphor of the baton being passed.
Prince Philip was always mindful of this sense of passing the baton. That's why he created the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, which offers young people throughout the Commonwealth and beyond the chance of exploration and adventure. It remains an astonishing success, grounded in his faith in the future.
This has transformed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, the Duke of Edinburgh's award scheme. So she talks not about him as a grand statesman, but in very simple terms about his legacy.
I think it's a great thing, and I'm glad that people get so much out of it. I'm very glad also that the new Duke of Edinburgh took over the duties of the old Duke of Edinburgh, which I think is very, very good.
That theme of passing on the baton, I think, is a really, really important one, and one that resonates with me. And I think it's really important that we are empowering young people to do things, to be better, to grow, to develop, to evolve. I think that's really super important. And I think that is really what the Queen was trying to get across in her speech.
She talked about her late husband passing on a baton. We had these images looking ahead to the Commonwealth Games the following year. And I do think there was a sense of that she perhaps realised that her own era was drawing to a close in her great age and having suffered loss herself. And it did feel a very sort of intimate moment to listen to her speaking.
For the royal family, of course, this sentiment carried a deeper meaning, a symbol of legacy and continuity, the next generations ready to take their place.
We actually know, if all goes well, who will be the king in about 100 years' time.
Throughout the Christmas broadcast, we are reminded of those who will come next.
She spoke very clearly about the line of succession, and during the broadcast you see images of Prince Charles and Prince William. It's not sort of a great emotional moment, but the words that she's chosen within it are really poignant.
The Queen's last Christmas speech also looked back on her late husband's environmental legacy, a duty and care for the planet that she said is now being carried by Charles and William.
And I am proud beyond words that his pioneering work has been taken on and magnified by our eldest son Charles and his eldest son William, admirably supported by Camilla and Catherine.
And the Queen is the Green Queen. She is the wise Queen. She's the nation's sage. She's telling us, that actually there is a life beyond us, and that what we do now will matter in the future.
As Britain's longest-serving monarch, the Queen's final Christmas address in 2021 carried a quiet, unmistakable weight.
I don't think you'd want to presume to know anything that the late Queen was actually thinking in those moments. But it's inevitable, in the way that she was, to contemplate the life that had gone before you and all those decades. Extraordinary, the longest-serving monarch this country has ever had. It feels a very natural moment to reflect on that. And I think that's what makes that particular broadcast so sort of deeply poignant.
Queen Elizabeth II saw Britain change dramatically over the decades, while she remained a constant presence in the lives of people in the UK and around the Commonwealth. Something her final Christmas message portrayed so powerfully from Windsor Castle.
But to rewatch it really reconnects you with a global icon, a figure of history who had been a constant for so many people in this country and around the world. And it's only when you go back to that broadcast and remember what a resolute figure of deep personal service the late Queen was, that you have that moment of, acknowledgement and thanks for a woman of great service.
I think the Queen can connect with anyone that she speaks to, primarily because a lot of the time it feels like it's coming from the heart. Whenever I've seen her speak or I've met her, there is always something really warm and really genuine about her. And that's one of the things that I really loved about the Queen.
I think another really important thing about the monarchy, and Queen Elizabeth absolutely exemplified it, was it personalised something that's otherwise impersonal, right? History, tradition, authority, the state, all those things seem very abstract, don't they? But in her, we saw it in human form. And I think that meant people could relate to it.
She always promised that she'd serve this country. She would not abdicate. There she was working right up to the end.
You thought, how things have changed over the lifetime of this Queen, and how much she has lived through that change with such dignity and such clarity of mind and heart. So there's a lot for which we should be thankful, I do believe, in a great monarch who understood what it is to serve rather than to be served.
Sadness and suffering is this Christmas broadcast, but where she's determined to be upbeat, optimistic, and really to lead us into the next reign. But rest assured, the baton is being passed on, and feel good because rebirth is possible. There's light in the darkness.
And no matter Britain's future, Queen Elizabeth II's impact will be remembered forever.
Britain's most iconic figure and her beloved princess.
She is somebody that really is the heartbeat of this modern monarchy.
A caring friendship.
Right from the beginning, Kate actually had a lot more in common personality-wise with Queen Elizabeth.
Born out of service and an unflinching devotion to their country.
I think the Queen saw her strength, saw she was a caring person, and the Queen also saw she had this amazing affiliation to duty.
An unbreakable bond.
The Princess of Wales was given this honour by Queen Elizabeth. It just shows how strong their relationship was.
In sickness and in health.
It was a way of reaching across the emptiness to say, I'm here, I'm thinking of you.
How did these two incredible women influence each other so deeply?
Kate's on-the-job education was guided by the Queen.
And inspire a nation.
We have really seen the fact that the Queen does live on in Kate. And I think her poise, her standing amid all those challenges is really reminiscent of the Queen.
On the 29th of April 2011, the world witnessed the event of the century. The wedding of the then Kate Middleton to the future King, Prince William.
It was a chilly day. The anticipation was huge. William's wedding came with all the trappings you would expect of a future monarch.
The iconic moment William and Harry took their positions was watched by a global audience in the tens of millions. And one very proud Queen.
It was a golden time for the royal family when there was just so much positivity towards them and so much excitement.
Kate looked stunning. She was on show not just to the people crammed into the church and to Buckingham Palace, but also to the watching world. Millions were tuning in all over the globe.
The splendour of the royal wedding was a far cry from Kate's middle-class upbringing.
She's the first commoner to marry into the royal family so close to the throne. It really is a throwback to the fact that, in the old days, princes only married princesses. And of course, Kate didn't have an aristocratic title. She was just plain Miss Catherine Middleton.
Her family, her parents do come from very humble beginnings.
This classic middle-class Berkshire upbringing, her parents being self-made people.
Kate's early life was in stark contrast to that of the Queen.
She's from the real world, and there is something different about the royals and the rest of us. I mean, if you're brought up with somebody literally cleaning your Wellington boots and wiping the mud off your bicycle, You live in this rarefied world, and I don't think you can help it. But Kate didn't come from that. She came from a really normal, warm family background.
William first laid eyes on Kate in 2001 at the University of St Andrews in Scotland, as cinematically portrayed in Netflix's The Crown.
What's her name?
Kate.
Beautiful Kate.
They were both studying art history to begin with, so we know that she would share notes with him if he missed class. She might sit and have breakfast with him and his friends, for example. That was where their courtship began in earnest.
After 4 years together, the couple graduated, as seen here in photographs taken by the Middleton family. And there was one person at the ceremony who Kate was particularly keen to meet.
The Queen, her monarch, was in the room, and there was always a possibility that at some stage her boyfriend, Willie, may say, come and meet Granny.
It shows you that there was a seriousness about this relationship back then. You don't go introducing the Queen to anyone unless it's important in your life.
It was 3 years later, at the marriage of the Queen's eldest grandson, as captured by the ITN News team, where the two women would formally meet.
The royal wedding brought two of her realms closer together today. Princess Anne's son, Peter Phillips, tied the knot with Canadian Autumn Kelly.
The key marker point in the story of the relationship between Kate and William is that wedding of Peter Phillips, famously sold to Hello magazine.
We saw Kate talking to Prince Harry's girlfriend, Chelsea at the time, and we could see everyone having a really good time.
The Queen was taking an interest, if you like, in this ongoing relationship.
Sitting down for a warm interview at the time of their engagement, the couple told millions of viewers about Kate's encounter with the Queen.
It was in amongst a lot of other guests, and she was very friendly, and no, it was fine.
She's very welcoming. She knew
Yeah.
it was a big day and everything was going on. Peter and Autumn were there and things, and she wanted to meet Kate for a while, so it was very nice of her to come over and say hello.
It tells me that she was a more confident young woman than perhaps we gave her credit for at the time.
What the Queen loved about Kate is very simple. She made William happy. And that's all the Queen wanted, really. I don't believe at all it mattered whether she wasn't a princess or she wasn't part of the landed gentry and she didn't have a title. I'm sure they could not care less.
William and Kate's relationship was developing, and the happy couple were now being seen out together more and more frequently. 1 year after Kate's last meeting with the Queen, Her Majesty invited Kate to her favourite residence, Balmoral Castle.
Balmoral Castle in the Scottish Highlands is very significant. Being invited to Balmoral is a big deal.
It's here in this 50,000-acre estate that the Queen would have had one eye on succession and a suitable wife for William.
This is not a formal exam. They're not ticking stuff off, but you do have to show willing. Going there does mean long, muddy walks and hunting and fishing. If you're going to join this family, this is the sort of stuff we do.
She was being road tested as a future royal.
If you can pass the Balmoral test, then you're in there. You're on the way to really being welcomed quite warmly into the royal fold.
It was clear from the outset that the Queen and Kate had many things in common.
I'm sure that Kate and the Queen got along very well because they had plenty of things to talk about. She's very outdoorsy, and she loves cooking and she loves homemade things. So I think the Queen would have been absolutely delighted.
In a heartfelt documentary filmed before the Queen passed away, Kate reflected on her time at Balmoral.
You would expect a lot of grandeur and a lot of fuss and things, but actually what really resonates with me is her love for simple things, the lack of fuss. And I think that's a special quality, I think, to have.
Having passed this royal initiation, Kate was formally accepted into the royal family in 2011. And the world watched as she arrived at Westminster Abbey to marry her prince.
The feeling towards Catherine in the build-up towards the royal wedding was one of great love and excitement and admiration, and she was really an unflappable bride.
I think the Queen was probably very pleased. She knew it was a love match. I think it was so refreshing for her.
The Queen's affection for Kate was front and centre.
Kate obviously looked great. She had the Cartier halo tiara, which was lent to her by the late Queen.
The Queen is making this tremendous gesture. You're obviously honoured and privileged to be wearing it.
She was just delighted with his choice of bride, and I think she felt that Kate would be always there for William, and she would always be there for the monarchy. She used to joke that she went down on her knees at night and said, "Thank God for Mrs. Middleton."
Coming up, the hard work begins as Kate learns to be a royal.
They came up with this very clever strategy, which was for Kate to learn on the job. If you want to learn, you might as well learn from the maestro.
And the pressure's on as Kate gets a Christmas invite from the Queen.
Christmas at Sandringham is big.
The Queen gets given so many gifts all the time. You can't just go and buy something lovely. You've got to really think hard.
Kate Middleton captured the hearts of the world when she married Prince William. But the fairy tale wedding was just the start of a life of royal service in one of the most famous families in the world.
The Queen was perfectly aware of how daunting this was for an outsider to come into the family, so they will have had their techniques of making somebody feel at home, and the Queen was very, very good at that.
Taking on an official life of royal duties may have been a daunting prospect for Kate, but in the Queen she had a mentor and guide.
Kate always described Queen Elizabeth as a gentle guidance, and I do kind of feel that that description really sums up what Queen Elizabeth offered when it came to instruction.
I think the Queen saw her strengths. I think the Queen saw that she was a caring person, and the Queen also saw that, you know, she had this amazing affiliation to duty.
As a new member of the royal family, Kate had to quickly learn the Queen's traditions.
Christmas at Sandringham is big. It's the one time where the whole family is together, and the only time they're really seen in public is when they walk to the church on the estate.
People have been queuing overnight to see her, so it was a really big deal.
In news footage, we saw the Queen being driven, but the rest of the family walked, and at the centre, looking poised, was their newest member, Kate.
And making her first appearance at Sandringham for Christmas, the Duchess of Cambridge.
I think that the strategy was not to overwhelm her, not to frighten her, not to expect too much at the beginning, and allow her to find her feet. There's no doubt about it, there is safety in numbers, and she was cocooned by other members of the royal family who were more familiar with what was expected.
Kate may have had a gentle public introduction, but back at the house, she had to navigate the challenge of what to give the Queen as a present. In a 2016 interview, Kate explained how nervous she was.
I can remember again being at Sandringham for the first time at Christmas, and I was worried what to give the Queen as her Christmas present. And I was thinking, gosh, what should I give her?
The Queen is very practical. She gets given so many gifts all the time. The last thing she wants is for her family to spend money on finding gifts for her. You can't just go and buy something lovely. You've got to really think hard.
Kate understood the Queen and knew that a thoughtful homemade present would win her heart.
I decided to make my granny's recipe of chutney, and was slightly worried about it. But I noticed the next day that it was on the table, and I think such a simple gesture went such a long way for me.
Something so small and seemingly trivial actually says a huge amount about the late Queen. She was an ordinary countrywoman who was also the head of state, and she loved the fact that Catherine brought her the Middleton chutney as her Christmas gift.
I think it tells you that Kate was a smart cookie. For the Queen, I think she would have been impressed. She would have thought, well, this is a girl who wants to be part of this family, is trying to understand our rather quaint traditions. We should support her.
Stepping into the heart of the royal family with all its potential pitfalls is no easy task. But for Kate, this transition was eased by the Queen.
Queen Elizabeth gave William and Kate quite a lot of leeway to figure out for themselves the path that they wanted to take. But at the same time, she also had this really kind of steady hand at offering guidance when it was necessary.
I think it would have never gone unnoticed, the Queen's efforts to make Catherine feel comfortable at such a challenging time. So any guidance, especially from someone who had been in the role for so many years, who had so much experience, who was so respected worldwide, would have been immensely helpful and appreciated.
The following year was the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Even though Kate was still very new to the family, the various events to mark this huge milestone helped cement their special bond.
The one thing that people really remember about the Diamond Jubilee is the river pageant. It was windy and wet and raining, but Kate looked wonderful. She had a red Alexander McQueen dress and she looked stupendous. I think the Queen was just so grateful that she was there. And I think the fact that Kate was there representing the youth and beauty of what the future of the monarchy is going to be like was really important to the Queen.
That year also provided the perfect opportunity for Kate to learn the ropes directly from the monarch.
I think the Jubilee year of 2012 was the breakout year for Kate's development and emergence from a chrysalis, if you like, into a fully fledged royal butterfly. There was still a good deal of caution. They didn't want her to do too much too soon, but they came up with this very clever strategy, which was for Kate to learn on the job. So to go on official engagements with the Queen. If you want to learn, you might as well learn from the maestro.
Fortnum and Mason, London. Crowds and staff wait excitedly for what was one of Kate's first engagements with the Queen. She had been invited with Camilla to attend a visit to this historic store.
It's a wonderful scene. You've got the Queen, the Duchess of Cornwall, and the debutante, if you like, Kate. And I think it was very instructive.
Kate is at the back. She kind of has to do something that a lot of the lower rank royals have to do, which is to kind of linger and look graceful while you're doing it. Her flawless body language was very much a work in progress here. But we can see the Kate brand beginning to unfurl even this early on. She is very carefully not upstaging the Queen. Then she turns on a lot of the Kate charm. We can see the start of that Duchenne smile that she became so famous for.
In those early public engagements, you could see how well they were getting on. In fact, this visit became known as the Three Queens, Camilla and Kate learning from the master.
Having successfully navigated a public event as one of the Three Queens, the next step was for Kate to join Her Majesty and Prince Philip on an away day. In a later interview, Kate herself spoke candidly about how she felt that day.
The most memorable engagement for me, I suppose, was an away day to Leicester. I went without William, so I was rather apprehensive about that.
Body language expert Judy James can see how the Queen is helping Kate during the event.
The Queen's approach is to have the kind of body language of a mother duck, which is that you just carry on through the water and you put the new duckling at the back of the queue and kind of let them get on with it. But you can see that Kate is perhaps not quite fully confident here. We don't see the Queen fussing, we don't see her glancing, but it allows Kate the freedom to watch the Queen, to begin to learn about what being a queen is all about, but without feeling that she's got royal eyes on her.
Kate explained the affection she felt for the Queen helping her out that day.
She was very supportive. The fact she took the time to make sure that I was happy and looked after for that particular occasion, which probably in everything that she's doing is very, very small element, shows just how caring she is, really.
That gesture, even though she had to focus on so much, that she also focused on Catherine's well-being, I think spoke volumes about their mutual respect and their relationship.
The most important picture of them was them sitting side by side. There's no doubt they had a good time together. You could see them laughing and smiling, and they were very relaxed. And I think that was quite a moment for the Queen to do that, because the Queen, on her away days, was basically launching her Jubilee, in which she would be the star, with the most enigmatic young woman that's just joined the royal family.
I think what Queen Elizabeth learnt from Kate would be Kate's ability to be completely relaxed, because Kate comes from a completely different generation. And you could see as the Queen got older, she became more and more relaxed. The relaxing of the monarchy was something that probably the Queen took a leaf out of Kate's book, if you like.
In Leicester, the pair had attended a fashion show, and it was through their shared love of clothing that the Queen and Kate were also able to connect.
Queen Elizabeth II was always so well known for wearing bright colours because she was quite short in stature. She wore bright, bold colours, so she would always stand out in a crowd. And the Princess of Wales is known for wearing block colours, bright colours, especially recently. So definitely she's picked up on her fashion choices from Queen Elizabeth II.
I think it is a mark of the Queen's success, of her mentorship of Kate, that Kate has developed in the way she has. I think the Queen did a good job, if you like, not exactly moulding this young woman, but helping her find her feet and allowing her to develop a role at a gentle pace.
I think Catherine, of course, had an immense amount of respect for the late Queen, and I think in return the Queen was always able to see the good that she was bringing to the family. That mutual respect, I think, served their relationship really well, and they grew closer throughout the years.
With help from the Queen, Kate was finding her feet. But in 2013, she would take on another, even more important role. As the world's cameras gathered outside a hospital in West London, broadcasters proclaimed exciting news.
This is BBC News at 11 o'clock. I'm Joanna Gosling, live at Buckingham Palace as the country marks the birth of the latest member of the royal family.
This is a family firm which has been in business for 1,000 years. The only thing a royal wife really has to do is provide an heir and a spare, and that's what Catherine did in 2013 with Prince George. So the Queen was obviously delighted that the succession was secure.
She didn't put a foot wrong. The Queen understood how difficult it was. Kate used to have desperately bad morning sickness, so she had very, very difficult time. But she never complained, and she just got on with it as much as she could, and the Queen was very proud of her.
The late Queen displayed a very canny understanding of the human condition, and Kate was reliable, dependable, and I think the Queen cherished it. I think she felt, the monarchy is in good hands when we've got a young woman like her not so far down the line coming up behind us.
2 years later, in 2015, the whole family gathered on the Buckingham Palace balcony to watch the magnificent red arrows as part of the Trooping the Colour celebrations.
That Buckingham Palace balcony is always one of the most interesting moments of the entire royal year. Who's in, who's out, what position are they in? Everything relates to where the Queen is and where they are to the Queen. Kate was close to the Queen, as befits someone who will one day be Queen, but she didn't want to edge out some of the more longer established royal family members. Flash forward to 2022 and the Platinum Jubilee celebrations, and Kate is front and centre on that famous balcony. I think it tells us that the Queen relies on her very much. She was a constant feature in all those celebrations. And I think it just tells you how trusted she had become, that she was naturally at the centre of things.
Coming up, Kate and her family make the move to be closer to the Queen.
They were both, by that time, working as full-time royals, and they needed to have an appropriate base.
And the Queen honours Kate in a most significant and rare way.
Now, she's only the second granddaughter-in-law to ever receive this from a living monarch.
Since joining the royal family, Kate had grown close to Queen Elizabeth.
Right from the beginning, Kate actually had a lot more in common personality-wise with Queen Elizabeth. They have something about them that has that kind of inner poise and has the capacity to lead and the capacity to kind of command respect.
As an outsider, Kate was touched by the effort the Queen had made to nurture her.
I think that Kate would have really appreciated the kindness and the attention that the Queen had given to her, because she knows, better than anyone how busy the Queen is. She put time aside to make Kate feel appreciated.
In turn, the Queen valued the relationship she had developed with her granddaughter-in-law.
Queen Elizabeth was very confident that the monarchy was in safe hands with William and Kate. There was very much this sense that the Queen very much wanted to show and to demonstrate that she really valued that relationship that she had with Kate on a personal level.
6 years after her marriage, having welcomed another child, Princess Charlotte, into the fold, Kate was about to make a big change to her life. In 2017, the family of four moved to London from their home in Norfolk.
I think that when Catherine and William moved to Kensington Palace and then later to Windsor, both moves showed a closer proximity, of course, to the monarch, which allowed them to see her more, allowed them to be more integrated into the firm.
The Queen wanted them to have apartment 1A Kensington Palace. They were both, by that time, working as full-time royals, and they needed to have an appropriate base, so that this was made available to them.
Relocating to London allowed Kate to be closer to the Queen, and the Queen to be closer to her great-grandchildren, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and eventually the youngest Cambridge, Prince Louis.
She delighted in the whole family being around her, coming in and out of the estate throughout the summers.
No one was more pleased to see Kate back than the Queen, because it was through Kate that the Queen got to see her Cambridge great-grandchildren, George, Charlotte and Louis. She was able to have the great-grandchildren come around for tea. It brought back memories of Diana taking the young William and Harry to tea with their granny 30 years earlier. So I think the Queen really enjoyed these encounters.
With Kate now living closer, the Queen was able to show her the Windsor way.
Well, the one philosophy we associate with the Queen, of course, is never complain, never explain.
The motto has been passed on to Catherine, that intense protection of privacy, of stoicism in the face of complaints, in the face of family drama, in the face of negative press. I think that sense of duty has also shown itself in Catherine, and she's also had the gentle guidance from the Queen in how to approach that role.
In a revealing interview, Kate explained how caring the Queen was as she guided her to be a better royal.
She's been very generous and not sort of being forceful at all in any of her views, but I feel she's been there sort of a gentle guidance really for me.
I think Kate's on-the-job education was guided by the Queen, watching what the Queen does and did, and occasionally asking for advice as well.
Given how amazing the Queen was, she would have watched and learned and tried to emulate.
Kate won't want to be Queen Elizabeth Mark II, but as a monarch, she will have been influenced by what she learned and picked up, sitting at the Queen's feet, so to speak. It's going to be very interesting.
Over the years, Queen Elizabeth's affection towards Kate had grown. In 2017, the Queen showed how important Kate was to her. The Queen awarded her an incredibly rare honour, the Royal Family Order.
This is an honour that's given to female members of the royal family. Now, she's only the second granddaughter-in-law to ever receive this from a living monarch.
Traditionally, only on those who have the higher ranks within the family. Camilla obviously received it. Sophie Wessex, who was another favourite of the Queen, received it. It's often seen on formal and state occasions.
2019, London. Kate and Queen Elizabeth carry out an engagement together, and their closeness is on display.
The visit to Bush House was significant because it was the first time that Kate and Queen Elizabeth had carried out an engagement, a public engagement, an outing that was just the two of them.
When they pulled up to the event, they were sharing a blanket spread over their knees in the car.
It kind of set the tone. It was a reminder, really, that coming to visit, we did have the Queen and the Duchess of Cambridge, as she was then, but we also had an elderly lady and her granddaughter-in-law.
At the event, you can see the special relationship between them, but you can also see how popular both of them are. They were a real power team, absolutely.
The Queen's respect and love for Kate was further cemented when she was awarded another very personal honour.
The Victorian Order is an order that was established so that the monarch could honour those that have served. The Queen was really honouring her public service and the service to the Crown.
Sometimes royal ladies have to wait a long time before they get that. For her to give it to Kate so early on was a great honour and just a signal of how much she thought of her.
I think undoubtedly showed that she was delighted that Catherine was part of the family and delighted with what she was trying to achieve.
In 2020, it was time for Kate to help the Queen, when the shocking announcement came that Britain was under siege by a deadly virus.
The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades.
As the UK battled its biggest crisis since World War II, a solemn Prime Minister gave the news that Britain was being forced into lockdown.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
The Queen sought to reassure a scared and confused nation with an inspirational address.
Together we are tackling this disease, and I want to reassure you that if we remain united and resolute, then we will overcome it.
Queen Elizabeth II was, I think, very savvy and very clever at being an emotional leader when we needed it. She was very aware of when that was needed during the COVID-19 pandemic. And there she was and gave that speech. And I think it reassured a lot of people in that difficult time.
We should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return. We will be with our friends again. We will be with our families again. We will meet again.
We all remember those restrictions, and the Queen was absolutely adamant that they were going to follow them just as everybody else was. The Queen and Prince Philip were based at Windsor Castle during the various COVID lockdowns, and it became known as HMS Bubble. Kate and the kids were able to visit with the same stipulations as everybody else, groups of 6 and meeting outdoors and whatever.
She was doing what she could, but she did depend on people getting out and about still, banging the drum for the royal family, and no one was more visible in the early months of the whole COVID pandemic than Kate and, of course, William and their children.
As COVID gripped the nation, Brits showed their appreciation for the hard-working NHS workers with a weekly round of applause. And as this heartwarming video shows, Kate and her family were no exception.
Kate was very much front and centre with that. A fantastic moment for the royal family in showing that they were part of what was a national struggle for survival.
During her decades on the throne, It was rare for the Queen to rely on any of her children or grandchildren, but in Kate, she found a trusted and dutiful pair of hands.
Well, I think the Queen putting her trust in Kate and William meant she was totally confident that whatever they did or whatever they were able to do, they were going to do to the best of their ability.
9th of April 2021. TV channels were filled with sombre presenters announcing the tragic news that shook the royal family.
A short while ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh.
Obviously, Philip had been ill for some time, and then he died in the April. So it wasn't a massive surprise, but it was, you know, still a big shock that he had gone. And, you know, the Queen often said she couldn't have done what she had done without him. And then she was on her own.
And she hadn't been alone since she first met Prince Philip. And they got married in 1947. So this is a long, long time to have him at your side. And I think the royal family realised how lonely she would be.
I've no doubt at all that William and Catherine, you know, tried to be as supportive as they could in that sort of terrible moment.
She relied heavily on William and Kate to sort of maintain the glamour, maintain, you know, the upside of the royal family when it was so sad at losing Philip.
As the family came to terms with their loss, Kate released a beautiful and intimate image.
One of the last photographs of Philip, because he had retired from public life, was taken by Kate, and it is really lovely and relaxed, you know, the Queen and Philip with their great-grandchildren on the sofa, and you only really get that with a family snap. She is a very good photographer, but it's informal and it's relaxed.
There's a huge amount of trust in allowing her to release those photographs to the world. So yeah, it's a very powerful show of intimacy.
Prince Philip's funeral took place in St. George's Chapel during COVID restrictions.
The fact that there were so many restrictions during COVID meant that he had to have a relatively small funeral.
On the day the nation mourned, one image stood out above all others.
Well, I think we all remember the funeral of Prince Philip and that desperately sad photograph of the late Queen sitting all on her own in St. George's Chapel.
The picture said everything. Here was the monarch on her own after all those years and having to bury her own husband.
Moving footage of the funeral showed how, even though there were restrictions in place, Kate was able to show the Queen that she was close to her heart.
You could see how sad Catherine was as well, but they really weren't allowed to be together.
Kate chose to wear a pair of earrings that were borrowed from Queen Elizabeth at Prince Philip's funeral.
The royals have always used jewellery to make statements about their feelings and to show that they appreciate events that are going on around them. It was kind of a way of reaching across the emptiness of the chapel, if you like, to say, I'm here, I'm thinking of you, and this is why I'm here, and what I'm wearing is a demonstration of my connection and my closeness to you.
Coming up, the Princess of Wales makes sure that Queen Elizabeth's legacy is kept alive.
She is somebody that really is the heartbeat of this modern monarchy, the mother of a future king, the wife of a future king, the beloved daughter-in-law of the king.
With a special bond forged over 14 years, Kate had become the Queen's confidant, and the Queen, Kate's greatest mentor.
I think the Queen grew to trust Kate. I don't think she trusts anyone on first impressions. You're all performing for this same show, and the show is all about supporting the Queen. But what is interesting with Kate and the Queen is the relationship seems to have got somewhat deeper than that. I think there was a genuine grandmotherly affection between the two.
The Queen taught Kate what it would take to become a true royal.
Catherine has said that the Queen was very supportive of her, especially as she was undertaking her first engagements without William. So I think that she influenced her by, in a way, teaching her many things just by example.
But on the 8th of September 2022, that special relationship came to an end. Sombre journalists across the world revealed the tragic news.
Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, has died.
A mezz'asta è morta la regina Elisabetta II.
The death of the Queen happened incredibly quickly. I mean, we know that 2 days before she was appointing a new Prime Minister, and then on the Thursday she died. So it was a big race for William to get up to Balmoral, and Catherine's job was to look after the children. They were at school, and somebody had to be there for them.
She realised it was very, very important that at least one parent should be there to take them to their first day at a new school.
As Kate broke the news to her children, the nation mourned.
I think with the Queen's passing, not only Kate, but everybody lost somebody who was deeply special to the nation.
Kate had lost a mentor. She'd lost an elder woman that she really looked up to, and she knew that Prince William was going to have to really step up and help his father.
On the 19th of September 2022, at the Queen's state funeral, Kate, along with other members of the royal family, were grieving in public.
Kate was mourning the loss of somebody who she had developed a relationship with and a bond with over all those years, somebody who had been a really gentle guidance to her, a grandmother-in-law and also a great-grandmother to her children.
3 months later, at the yearly Royal Carol service, Kate honoured her mentor's legacy in a heartfelt social media video.
This year, we've invited hundreds of inspiring individuals to the service, those who showcase the power of connectedness and community values, allowing us to continue Her Majesty's tradition of recognising and thanking those who have gone above and beyond to support others. Her Majesty leaves with us an incredible legacy, and one that has deeply inspired many of us.
As one of a smaller group of royals, Kate will ensure that the legacy of the late Queen endures.
Kate knew what her grandmother-in-law wanted. She learned a great deal from the monarch, and it's not that she just learnt it, she wanted to carry it through because she admired it so much.
The royal family will evolve, of course it will, but I'm sure the first question any of them will ask themselves is, what would the Queen do? That's how the legacy will live on.
In 2024, the royals were hit by not one, but 2 tragic pieces of news. In February, it was announced that Charles would be undergoing cancer treatment.
Really changed the dynamic of the royal family. They are a young mum and dad. They want their children to see as much of them as possible, but they would have been now focused that at any time it could happen and they could be the King and Queen.
Then in March, after months of public concern, Kate made a shocking statement, leaving the country with bated breath.
In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present.
Kate's approach in her heartbreaking video message had echoes of the Queen's philosophy.
She came with that emotional intelligence, and the way that the Queen was kind of a grandmother figure to the nation, she kind of gave that sensible mum figure to the nation.
It had a slight feeling of the Queen's "we'll meet again" message during COVID.
At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer.
She talked about other people. She talked about how grateful she was for all the messages of sympathy she'd had.
What it was very much Kate, very unique, very direct, very brave, and not afraid to tell the truth. There was no looking for sympathy. She just did it. I think it was very unique in the way that Catherine wanted to do it.
For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
It was very powerful in the way that she delivered the message. So I think definitely that stoicism that would have been inspired by the Queen was on show in that video.
As Kate faces the most daunting challenge of her life, she may draw strength from her friendship with the Queen.
Kate gained terrific confidence from the Queen's appreciation of her.
I think the Queen was thrilled to have such a stable partner for her grandson and to have such a stable marriage. Her star power, her convening power, her calm nature, the Queen always appreciated that.
As we depart an era of stability under Queen Elizabeth II, her protégée Kate offers a steady hand that could secure the future of the crown.
We ask ourselves, what did Queen Elizabeth learn from Princess Kate? I think she would have learned a great deal about Kate's compassion.
She is somebody that really is the heartbeat of this modern monarchy, the mother of a future king, the wife of a future king, the beloved daughter-in-law of the king. So the Queen would have known that Catherine was a crucial part of this institution going forward.
The Queen does live on in Kate. She has become a regal operator, and I think her poise, her standing amid all those challenges is really reminiscent of the Queen, and so I do think that that legacy will live on.
A single gem in the Tower of London. Now this is dazzling. Has seen the rise and fall of more empires, caused more bad luck.
It is said to be cursed.
And been more prized than any other precious stone on earth. The Koh-i-Noor is the most infamous diamond in the world. But it's only one of tens of thousands of gemstones.
It looks like sugared icing.
And numerous crowns.
You must have a lot of polish. A lot, yeah.
That make up Britain's most valuable treasure, the crown jewels. Collected over the centuries by our kings and queens, these objects are now used on ceremonial state occasions. And as part of the coronation, they announce the arrival of every new monarch.
We've got a picture of a chap here. He likes a bit of bling.
Now, to mark the Queen's historic Platinum Jubilee, her 70 years on the throne, we explore the objects that symbolize her reign.
My word, it's actually pretty heavy.
I'll even try my hand at making a crown.
Oh dear.
I've busted your tool. I want to explore the real value of these national treasures, what they tell us about ourselves and our past. These jewels reveal the story, for good or ill, of our islands over the last 1,000 years.
It's like in The Lord of the Rings. The person who has this diamond has power and dominion.
It is a complicated history, but it's one illuminated by some of the most beautiful objects on the planet. Using the latest technology and unprecedented access, we reveal their magnificence, their flaws, and the history buried deep within them.
We think that's where it was broken, when it was hidden.
70 years after some of them were last used, are they just relics of a bygone era, or are they valuable symbols of our country? I've never seen the crown jewels. As a child of empire, there was no positive connection for me. But then one day, I was on the tube, and I saw this poster. And looking at a crown was a young boy. And it made me think, what is the value of these undoubtedly majestic treasures to someone like me? So I want to find out what they're really about. What relevance do they have for us today? And what can they tell us about the past? The Tower of London. It was built after the Norman conquest of 1066 by William the Conqueror. It has been home to the crown jewels for more than 600 years. So it's the place to start my journey to discover what we can learn from them. My guide is an expert on the collection, Nivek Amichand.
So I'm very excited. I've never seen these before. Ooh, dazzling. Absolutely amazing. Wow. How big is the collection?
So there's over 23,000 diamonds, sapphires, and rubies in the collection. They span from all over the world.
So many jewels. So much gold. The collection contains 13 crowns. You can view them from practically every angle, other than from above. I'm told that's because only God can look down on a crown.
Now this is dazzling. Absolutely beautiful.
This is probably the most famous crown. It's used once a year by Her Majesty for state opening of Parliament.
The imperial state crown. How many stones are in this?
It's nearly 3,000.
There are sapphires, emeralds, and rubies. But it's the diamonds that really impress me.
I mean, it looks almost unreal. The clarity of the diamonds is absolutely unbelievable.
Look at the bottom. You've got a 317.4 carat diamond, the Cullinan II.
Cullinan II isn't even the largest diamond in the collection. Within the sovereign scepter, there is also a Cullinan I.
That's the world's largest top quality white diamond. It's the Cullinan I, or the Great Star of Africa.
To get an even closer perspective on the crown jewels, we've been given unprecedented access to film them using the latest in motion control and macro photography. Moving the camera around the Cullinan I in close-up really brings it to life.
The colors are incredible, aren't they? How they just come out at you. You can see it all glinting, and then that hint of fire in its belly there, look at that. It's because the light travels inside and it bounces around, just popping at you like fireworks. And it's why diamonds were designed to be worn objects. You've got to see them on the move. That's what gives them their amazing power.
Now I understand just how fascinating these big stones are. I really want to get a sense of their value.
I've come to discover more about diamonds from a few folk who are in the know. The Collins family have been royal jewelers to the Queen for over 20 years.
Thank you. Josh Collins is head of the family business.
I mean, how do you value a diamond?
The way you value a stone is something called the 4 C's. So that's the carat weight of stone, the colour, the clarity, and the cut.
What's a carat? Apart from those orange things you eat.
Yes. With gold, it's the quality, purity of gold. Whereas with diamonds, it's actually a unit of measurement in weight. Ancient diamond traders used a seed called the carob seed.
Okay.
And they put a seed and a diamond on the scale. If it weighed the same as the seed, it would be a carat weight.
I think you've got some examples.
I have
Surely,
indeed.
haven't you?
Exactly, yeah. We have here the perfect white diamond. This is just over 10 carat, and it's as pure as it can be.
Colourless, yeah.
Absolute, the highest you can go in colour. It's flawless, and it's actually the same quality as you see in the Cullinan diamond in the crown jewels.
The Cullinan itself.
Yeah.
How much is this?
This one's about 1.5 million.
1.5 million?
Yeah. It's an extremely rare stone.
So, similar purity to the Cullinan.
Exactly.
10 carats.
Yes.
The Cullinan,
Yeah.
how many carats is that?
So over 500 carats. To think over 500 carat of the same quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite phenomenal.
Well, this is pretty much as good as it gets for mere mortals. Look at that. And it's all about the purity, it's all about the cut. And this is 10 carats. Now, your average engagement ring is probably about a single carat, and the Cullinan is 500 carats. If Josh's 10-carat diamond is valued at £1.5 million, then that must make the 530-carat Cullinan 1, the great star of Africa, worth much more than that. But the crown jewels are so famous, and in many ways beyond mere monetary value, as crown jewels expert Alistair Bruce explains.
People always try and value things because they value their own jewels. If you look at the full collection, there are so many historic stones. I think overall, calling it priceless is sensible, but you can just add as many zeros as there are diamonds in the collection.
Two of the most famous stones in this priceless collection, Cullinan 1 and 2, were cut from the same rough diamond. I'm fascinated to discover the story behind it. So I've come to the Natural History Museum, home to one of the country's largest collection of gems. Alan Hart is a world expert on gemstones.
So I've seen the Cullinan. It's pretty huge.
It is.
And obviously it was big and it was cut down. So how big was it originally?
Well, the Cullinan was the largest diamond ever found in a premier mine in 1905 in South Africa. It was actually 3,106 carats.
Unbelievable. And how big exactly?
Well, the great thing is they made models at the time.
Yeah.
And we have one of those models in the collections here at the museum. So you ready?
I'm ready.
So this is the actual model of the original Cullinan diamond when it was found.
My word.
Most diamonds found are tiny. I'll put this in your hand. It's a 1 carat diamond for
Right.
a real diamond for a comparison. And this one's 3,106.
So how many diamonds were made out of that then?
Actually, 9 major stones were made of this, and 96 smaller ones, so 105 diamonds were made. And so this is the major stone that was cut, the star.
That's Cullinan 1,
Great
right?
star cut. That was in the scepter, the crown jewel.
Oh, yes.
And then the Cullinan 2.
And that's the 2.
The Cullinan diamonds look amazing, but their history is part of the complex legacy of empire. When the original rough diamond was discovered, South Africa was a newly formed part of the British Empire, and the powers that be decided there could only be one destination fit for the ultimate jewel. In 1905, the South African government gifted it to King Edward VII as a symbol of loyalty. The heart-stopping task of splitting the massive Cullinan was entrusted to the master diamond cutter, Joseph Asher of Amsterdam. Who better to give me more insight into the cutting of the Cullinan than Her Majesty the Queen herself? She spoke to us in 2017.
It had a flaw in it. It had a brown flaw in it. I mean, a huge lump of bleh.
Yeah.
And they sort of worked it out, and they managed to, how he did it, I don't know, he hit it. And all the bits fell out, and the brown bit disappeared. That's why these little bits, you know, exist. I always wish I'd been there when they smashed it into pieces. These are the chips that were left.
placing some of the largest diamonds in the world into the most important objects within the crown jewels gives those pieces an even greater symbolic value. None more so than the crowns. And to gain a better understanding of them, I'm exploring one of the most famous of all. Now, this is obviously the crown that everyone recognizes.
This is St. Edward's crown. It's the oldest crown in the collection, made in 1660.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. The intricacy of the work as well. So beautiful.
Stunning.
I mean, it looks incredibly heavy.
5 pounds or 2.3 kilograms, and it's solid gold.
St. Edward's crown is only ever worn by each new sovereign once to announce the start of their reign. It's so heavy that many chose to have it carried on a cushion next to them. The most recent was the Queen's great-grandfather, Edward VII. He just had an operation to remove his appendix and wore the much lighter imperial state crown instead. But Queen Elizabeth II was up to the task. She is the only person alive today who has ever worn it, and so has a unique perspective on St. Edward's crown.
But is it still as heavy? Yes, it is. Yes, it weighs a ton. It's very solid, isn't it?
Ma'am, I don't suppose you've seen it much.
No, I haven't.
Since the
Thank goodness. And it is impossible to tell which is front and back, I suppose. It's identical, I think.
You've got to marvel at the beauty of those crowns, the intricacy, the jewelry, the metalwork. It's absolutely incredible. And I just wonder how you put together something like that. Well, I've come to Hampton Court Palace to find out. A few years ago, head of interpretation at historic royal palaces, Aileen Pearce and her team decided to recreate a crown. In this case, the lost crown of Henry VIII, who built Hampton Court for his second wife, Anne Boleyn. Henry VIII, famous for his 6 wives, was crowned in 1509. While at Hampton Court, he would frequently don his crown, wearing it for the many religious festivals celebrated in Tudor times. Wow.
So here we have it.
There we go, there we go. Using documents and illustrations preserved from the time, this lost crown was reconstructed with real gemstones and silver gilded with gold.
The jewels are startlingly large. They're spinels, which is quite similar to a ruby.
Yes, yes.
But they're, yeah, very big. And then we can see these sapphires around here as well. But if you look at them, they're not clear. You know, nothing's faceted.
Yeah,
they're
a little bit cloudy, that blue one.
Yeah. So they don't perhaps sparkle like a modern piece of jewellery, but that's not the point of them. The point of them is the size and the colour and the beauty.
Designed to impress.
Yeah.
But a Tudor bling, nothing wrong with that.
It absolutely is a bit of
stunning.
Tudor bling.
Yeah. So how do you make something like this?
You first make the circlet around the bottom, and then these arches here are separately attached, and then the orb and cross are held on by a tiny little handmade screw and nut. And all of the individual gems were attached with these split pins, a bit like a paper fastener. So it comes as a kit of parts, really.
Yeah. Oh, my word, it's actually pretty heavy.
Yeah, it weighs 3 kilos.
It is so impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Very
I
like the
love the
original.
figures on the outside of this. What
Yeah,
are
they're
they?
gorgeous, aren't they? So we've got the Virgin and
One there,
Child,
yeah, one there.
and then we have St George, and they were on it from the beginning. But what happens is that the three figures of Christ, which were on here,
Right.
are swapped for three kings.
In 1534, when Henry wanted a divorce to remarry and secure a male heir, he broke with the Catholic Church and made himself head of the Church of England.
These kings, we think, were royal saints, and he was aligning himself with the royal saints of the past and making a real statement about being supreme head of the Church of England.
Rather than Rome. It is incredible. For a Tudor craftsman to have put that together, how long would it take?
Well, I think you need to go and see the Crown Jewellers team who made it for us, because they'll be able to talk you through exactly all the steps they took to make it. They might let you have a go yourself in their workshop as well.
Me trying to put together split pins?
Well, you never know.
All right, we'll see. We'll see. It's not that often you get to hold a crown. It is absolutely beautiful, and the pearls and the jewelry around. So this is living history right here. Heavy living history right here in my hands. The crown was made in the workshops of the Collins family, supervised by former crown jeweller Harry Collins.
Everything we done was handmade, hand-worked, handcrafted. It had to be right. We had to do this 100% correct. It's very hard to do things that are imperfect. We wanted the dents, the scratches, the chips. Knowing what the tools they had, we had to make tools that were bad.
So, in here, some of the crown was actually made. Brilliant, thank you. I'm hoping to gain an insight into that craftsmanship with master jeweller Dave Stevens.
So would you like to have a go?
I knew you'd say that. OK, well, yeah, why not? Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. First, Dave's taking me onto the nursery slope. He wants me to cut out a cross from solid silver with a hacksaw. What could go wrong? OK, let's see. All right, OK. There you go. A little bit further out and a little bit straight on. OK. I can see it wobbling already, my life. Check it out. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not, no, but that's okay. That's okay.
It actually has wobbled.
Yes, but we can...
My line's wobbled. How did that happen? So you did this for a crown?
Yes.
That,
Oh dear.
I've busted your tool.
Yeah, that's going to come out your wages now.
I know. So it's a little bit of wire, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just
so
a bit of wire.
put your new one in.
OK, does that happen often? No.
No.
So what was the most intricate part of the crown to make then? What was the most difficult?
I guess the bits where the figures fit, we had to make the recess for those figures to fit in, and then the twisted wire, because there was so much of
The
it.
twisted wire so it looks like sort of braid?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I think
What do you think?
yeah, it's pretty good. If you give that a twist now, it'll probably come out.
Just twist it out. It's quite a sharp edge. There you go.
That's pretty good.
So I've cut out the cross, as you can see, and the idea now is that I've got to solder this to the edges. The trick is to heat up the solder, the cross and the metal wire to the same temperature so that the solder sticks evenly to both. Are we there?
Yeah, I think it's gone. Yeah. Well done.
The sense of satisfaction to start from, you know, the basic materials, put it all together, cut them out, mark them, to end up with that.
Yeah.
Incredible, really.
Nice to be involved with.
Yeah. Dave, what do you reckon? It's not fallen off.
Oh, you've done well.
Not too bad, not too bad, yeah. Yeah.
We spent in the making, the planning, over a year. You ended up living, breathing, thinking like Henry VIII. You know, if he walked through the door now, I could put that crown on his head and it would just be perfect.
Sadly, the replica is the only crown we have that shows us how magnificent Henry VIII's crown jewels were. The original was lost in one of the most tumultuous conflicts in British history, when the crown jewels, as powerful symbols of monarchy, faced their bleakest moment. In 1642, a civil war exploded between royalist supporters and parliamentary opponents of King Charles I. The parliamentarians, led by Oliver Cromwell, won, and in 1649, King Charles was executed. To discover what happened to the crown jewels and to see some extraordinary documents, I'm meeting crown jewels historian Dr. Anna Key.
There was a very systematic approach to expunging symbols of royalty, and obviously the crowns and sceptres themselves were the sort of epitome of that. So in 1649, the stones were popped out of the settings. It's an extraordinary thing to imagine. And then the crowns were broken up and they were quite literally melted down. So this amazing document here, which I really think is one of the most extraordinary documents anywhere in this country, is the valuation that was done in 1649.
Get my specs on for this.
So here we are, the King's Crown. The imperial crown of massy gold, weighing 7 pounds 6 ounces, enriched with 19 sapphires, 37 rubies, 21 small rubies, emeralds, diamonds, and so on. And it's got the valuation here, £990. To try and put that in context, the biggest and most extraordinary of Charles I's paintings by Van Dyck was valued at £40. And this crown is £990.
It is quite shocking, isn't it? But then again, these are the very things that you would want to destroy if you want to obliterate the sense of monarchy and the idea of monarchy, not just it in practical terms by
Exactly,
chopping
and
off someone's
actually you
head.
get a real sense of that on one of these pages, because it says here, the aforementioned crowns, since the inventory was taken, are, according to order of Parliament, totally broken and defaced.
Did anything survive? I mean, did the Republicans get their hands on everything?
There were some other things which were part of the coronation regalia, but which were felt to be less sort of potent, which were sold. And one of those things was something called the coronation spoon.
Yes.
The chap who bought this spoon, when Charles II came back, he turned up at Whitehall Palace and said, "I've got your spoon, sir. You know, I bought it at the sale of the coronation regalia in order to preserve it for you, and I'm presenting it back." And as a consequence here, this one item is still in the collection. So it's, you know, it's very modest enough an entry, one silver spoon gilt.
The workmanship on the coronation spoon suggests it's more than 900 years old.
The coronation spoon, dating to the 12th century, gives us a little view of what that medieval collection was like. It is now used in the process of anointing, but it seems originally to have been used in preparation of the wine for the Holy Communion.
Our specially shot footage shows its wonderful 900-year-old craftsmanship in close-up detail. It also reveals something difficult to see with the naked eye, a small crack, highlighting how delicate some of these objects are. There's also evidence some other objects may have just made their way back to the collection.
This is an interesting entry here because it describes this individual stone as one ruby ballast pierced, so it's got a hole in it.
Right.
And it's valued very highly, £4 on its own. And of course, the Black Prince's ruby, which is that famous stone right at the front of the imperial state crown, The way it's mounted is through a kind of piercing, which is the device that holds it into position on the crown. So it's quite possible that this gem...
That could be original.
Yeah, was part of the collection that was sold in 1649 and then given back or bought back in 1660.
But we don't know for sure.
You don't know for sure because you can't tell. There's, it doesn't have a photograph of it. There's not.
Sure.
Doesn't have measurements. So.
But it's a nice legend to have, isn't it? Because it shows a direct line back to the original crown jewels.
The Black Prince's ruby is one of the Queen's favourites.
Can I ask if the crown could be brought a little bit closer to the Queen?
This is what I do when I wear it. Exactly. Can I look at this end?
Yes, certainly.
I like the Black Prince's ruby.
The ruby is said to have been worn by Henry V in 1415 at the Battle of Agincourt. He's supposed to have placed a feather in the hole drilled into the ruby.
It's fun to see, I think, with the idea that his plume was put into the stone on his helmet. Bit rash, but that was the sort of thing they did, I suppose, in those days.
The ruby is in fact a spinel, a slightly softer stone. It may well have held Henry V's feather, but gem experts believe its appearance attests to an even earlier function and origin.
You can see there that thread going through, which is where a channel was dug in order to wear it as a pendant, so it could be hung as a piece of jewellery.
The hole and the gem's smooth appearance suggest it originally came from Asia. And the type of spinel indicates it was mined before the end of the 14th century.
And you're not normally allowed to see it from this angle, from on top. You're not allowed to look down on the crown jewels. But we've got a bird's eye view of it. Absolutely magnificent.
There is one other gem in the collection that's thought to be a survivor of Cromwell's destruction. It gives an insight into how the spiritual value of the crown jewels has grown through the ages and takes us all the way back to their origin. To Edward the Confessor, King of England, whose death in 1066 led to the Norman conquest and the crowning of William the Conqueror. The sapphire in the top of the imperial state crown is called St. Edward's sapphire because it's said to have been part of his coronation regalia and buried with the king on his finger.
The objects with which he had been crowned, it was claimed, were removed from his coffin 100 years after his death and became the items with which all subsequent English monarchs were invested when they were crowned, which of course is a wonderful thing because not only were you in the tradition of the Confessor, this great heroic saintly king, but also through his objects a sort of miraculous power was passed on to sovereigns of England.
The idea that that sapphire was worn by Edward the Confessor, who was dead even before William the Conqueror arrived, and yet when the Queen reads each year the instructions for her Parliament written by her Prime Minister, it sparkles watching down on the history of the United Kingdom today.
To explore the spiritual importance of St. Edward and his sapphire to the crown jewels, I'm visiting his tomb and shrine. It's a place thought so holy that coronations have taken place here for nearly 1,000 years, since William the Conqueror in 1066. Westminster Abbey. The last sovereign to be crowned here was our present Queen in 1953. Each of the objects she is presented with is designed to remind the sovereign of their duties, from acting wisely to dispensing mercy and justice. The Dean of Westminster, Dr. David Hoyle, who is also a medieval historian, wants to show me the spiritual home of the crown jewels.
Stepping through into the shrine, there we are. And here is the shrine of the Confessor. People came here on pilgrimage to pray. They wanted the prayers of Edward the Confessor. They were looking for miracles. It's all about holiness and being close to holiness.
The Confessor was so important that for nearly 1,000 years, all monarchs have been crowned in the crown that bears his name. Even in death, they keep close to him.
Alongside him, Henry III, and then next to him is his son. There's Edward I. Edward III is over there. There is Richard II and his wife Anne of Bohemia, and there is Henry V at the far end. But an extraordinary concentration of a dynasty gathered around holiness.
As I've learned, the original English crown jewels that grew out of the cult of St. Edward were lost forever when Cromwell removed them from the abbey and melted them down. But there is one other set of British regalia that escaped Oliver Cromwell's obsession with destroying all symbols of royalty. At Edinburgh Castle, its governor, Alistair Bruce, is introducing me to the Scottish crown jewels. The oldest in Britain, dating back to 1540.
I'm looking forward to this.
Well, this is the treasure of Scotland.
Oh, that's a reassuringly heavy gate.
It is, and I imagine keep everybody out. But you see, what we've got is the Honours 3. And they are the very heart and soul of this nation. You've got a crown, a sword, the sceptre. They are the oldest crown jewels in the United Kingdom.
The centerpiece, that crown, is unbelievable.
In 1540, it was made for King James V. And then it was used at the coronation of Mary, Queen of Scots. Now, the craftsmanship in it, I think, is fantastic.
Breathtaking.
The crown contains symbols that remind us of what was important to the idea of kingship. There's a great deal of Scottish gold in there, and all the little seed pearls come from Scottish rivers that, in a way, bring together the land of Scots into the crown of Scotland.
So they're emblematic then, the jewels and the gold and the symbols. They sum up an idealized version of the land of Scotland.
The idea of a crown was always to give a glow to an unanointed head. And what do you do that with? But with the best things you've got. Yes. And gold is the best thing that was available.
And the sword?
The sword, again, a symbol of kingly power, made in 1507.
But it is quite fragile, isn't it? I mean, you can see a bit of damage on the end of the hilt there, and there's damage in the middle too.
Now, there's a story to that. Yeah. We think that's where it was broken, when it was hidden, because when Cromwell was trying to track it down, it was taken further north to Dunnottar.
Incredible. Well, I want to find out more, no question.
You need to go to Dunnottar.
The Scottish crown jewels, like their English counterparts, had come to represent more than just objects. And when they were threatened by Oliver Cromwell, much of Scotland united in trying to save them. We're heading north on the trail of the Scottish crown jewels, the honours as they call them here. We know Cromwell had melted down those that were in England. So what happened to the crown jewels up here? I've come to Dunnottar Castle on Scotland's east coast, 110 miles north of Edinburgh, a place key to the story of the Scottish crown jewels. Well, we've picked the right day for it. Look at that. Unbelievable, isn't it? So romantic. In 1651, in defiance of the English Republic, Scotland crowned Charles II king with the Scottish crown jewels. Cromwell then forced Charles into exile and sent his English army in hot pursuit of the last surviving symbols of monarchy. Alistair Cunningham is an expert on the history of Dunnottar.
Dunnottar Castle was the last place in Britain to hold out against Cromwell. Cromwell was besieging this castle because the honours were brought here for safekeeping.
So the castle is under siege. The enemy is at the gates. What happened to the jewels?
The crown jewels of Scotland were stored here for 8 months. Cromwell's army. Initially, they didn't have big cannons. When the big cannons arrived, this keep started to be damaged, and that was when they decided that they had to get rid of the honours.
So what did they do?
They get out eventually, and I'll show you how. So the honours went out a window such as this one, Clive.
This is the most romantic version of how the honours got out of the castle.
They were lowered down, probably wrapped in hessian, to a serving woman who was collecting seaweed on the pebbles down below. She put everything in a wicker basket and walked off down the coast. And the chances are that the big sword was cut in two so that it would fit.
So that's why it ended up in 2 pieces?
Exactly, exactly.
So she could carry it along with the seaweed. Where did they end up?
They were spirited down the coast to a little village called Kinneff. The woman that orchestrated this was Christine Granger.
Christine Granger, with her husband, the priest of Kinneff, hid the jewels in the church under this pulpit for 9 years until the restoration of the monarchy. Had they been caught, they would have been executed. You can imagine just how angry, frustrated Cromwell must have been, besieging this place for 8 months. It finally falls, but the jewels he needed to get his hands on, they'd already gone. He understood the potency, the power of crown jewels, what they meant in symbolizing monarchy. The Scottish crown jewels had been saved by a servant woman with a basket and the courageous Christine Granger. It's quite incredible to realize how ordinary people have managed to keep that flame of Scottish nationhood alive by spiriting the crown jewels away. The Scottish crown jewels survived Oliver Cromwell. But what do you do when the symbolic heart of the country has been completely destroyed? To understand the problem that Charles II faced when he was restored to the throne in 1660, I'm drawing on the expertise of Dr. Anna Key.
These, amazingly, are the minutes of the meetings that happened on the 26th of September, 1660. And so it's got all the people attending. The king himself is chairing the meeting. And then we have the notes of the discussion they were having about what was going to be needed for the king's coronation. Looking at what have been the regalia, it's all about what was it like so we can replicate it. And then it gets to the list of what's needed. So, and here we go. First, to have 2 crowns, the one named St. Edward's crown and the other an imperial crown. And then it goes through the list of ball and cross of gold, the orb, a sceptre, and so on. So, I mean, you know, it's like a shopping list. It's a regalia shopping list. And it's based entirely on what was lost before.
So it's back to the way it was. This wasn't the beginning of a new era. This was a continuation of the old. And that meant recreating, pretty much down to the last little jewel, those elements of the crown jewels that were destroyed, including the crown, St. Edward's crown.
Exactly, and the fact that it was called St. Edward's crown, you know, even its name speaks of that sort of determination to recreate the past.
We've got a picture of a chap here. He likes a bit of bling, as we can see.
Yeah. So this is a painting of Charles II. So he's wearing the brand new crown that had just been made, the state crown. He's holding here one of the scepters that had just been made, and he's got in his hand here the orb. If you were to hold this picture up next to the cases in the Tower of London, you know, you'd be able to, you know, absolutely be able to identify the objects that we see there.
To see those documents, to feel them, to touch them, really quite incredible, because the idea of the crown jewels, they represent the idea of monarchy. And that is what the Republic wanted to destroy and what Charles II wanted to re-establish. And Charles II, in recreating those objects that were sold off or melted down, he was saying, yes, my reign might be new, but it's completely rooted in the past. Just as Charles II created a new set of crown jewels, objects continue to be added to the collection. In 1953, at the Queen's coronation, these armills were a gift from the Commonwealth. And the collection continues to evolve.
More crowns. More. I mean, the crown in the centre was the latest addition to the crown jewels collection. It was designed in 1960s, used at the investiture for the Prince of Wales at Carnarvon Castle. It's made with the process of electroforming, which puts incredible stress on the metal because it looks like it's been stretched. But it is very much of its period in the 60s.
I suppose because of that modern design, you're seeing this sort of evolution of the collection through time. Nothing epitomizes more the changing fashions that have shaped the crown jewels collection more than this magnificent crown. It was made for the coronation of George IV in 1821, and it was a time when diamonds were considered the thing to have, far more than gold. And Georgie, he liked his diamonds. But in the early 19th century, they were actually quite a rare thing for people to own, even the royal family. So to satisfy his craving for a crown encrusted in bling, he had to hire in 12,314 diamonds. I mean, imagine this, with another 12,000 diamonds all over it. Astonishing. And of course, at the end of the service, well, he had to give them all back. The availability of these diamonds for hire flowed from one unusual source, the French Revolution at the end of the 18th century, when the French monarchy was abolished.
All the diamonds that had belonged to the French aristocrats who'd lost their heads in the guillotine found themselves landing in the crown of this new king who was celebrating a new Great Britain at the end of the Napoleonic Wars. And in a sense, this new Great Britain and its new king were setting the template for a new and changing nation. It was going to gain influence around the world. It was going to gain great wealth, but it certainly had a very splendid crown on the king of its day.
The diamond craze peaked in the mid-19th century in the reign of Queen Victoria. Now the largest empire on the planet, Britain sought the world's most valuable gems to express its newfound power and domination. This led to the capture of one notorious diamond that had passed through the hands of numerous other foreign rulers for 1,000 years.
This is where the famous or infamous Koh-i-Noor diamond sits.
Stunning, absolutely stunning.
fought over for hundreds and hundreds of years by Persian kings and princes.
Wow.
Went through Afghanistan, and it ended up in the Punjab, where the Prince Dilip Singh handed it over in the Treaty of Lahore to Queen Victoria. And that's how it's come into our collection.
It is so pure, so beautiful, so dazzling. The Koh-i-Noor now sits in Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother's crown. And only women are allowed to wear it.
It's said to be cursed.
What is the curse?
Every man who comes into contact with the stone, swift and bloody death.
Ah.
Yes. Every woman who comes into contact with the stone has lived a long and prosperous life.
Right.
Now, we're not superstitious, but when the team comes to clean these, no man goes near the stone.
No man goes near the stone, interestingly.
Who's going to test the superstition?
Who's going to test the superstition? The Koh-i-Noor came to Britain in 1851 as a spoil of war after Britain defeated the Sikh Empire of the boy Maharaja Duleep Singh in northern India. To delve deeper into the complex history of the Koh-i-Noor, Alan Hart is taking me into the vaults of the Natural History Museum.
When the Koh-i-Noor first came to England, it was actually what is called a Mogul cut diamond, an ancient cut. This is a cubic zirconia replica of the original Koh-i-Noor diamond, as it was when it came to Britain in 1851.
So that's the Mogul cut?
The Mogul cut, yeah. And you can see there's a myriad of facets all the way around the top, flat base and a flat top. What's really interesting for me, Clive, is that how you would wear a diamond like this, because this would have been worn in an armlet. So if I take this stone, I want to try this out, I'll put it on your arm here as an armlet.
As a Mogul would have worn it?
Mogul would have worn it like this, huge. I can see
an Indian
it.
prince.
And you do it from the side, you can see how it glows with great presence.
Wow. I mean, even through your fingers, I can see the light reflecting.
Yeah, and even if I do it like this, you can see.
That's when it comes alive. In India, the Koh-i-Noor was known as the Mountain of Light. But when it was introduced to the British public as the star of the Great Exhibition in 1851, things didn't go to plan.
Crowds thronged to the display. They put this diamond, 186 carats, into the huge display case, and the light at the Great Exhibition did it no favours whatsoever.
Really?
Originally, they put it on display upside down. Then they tried to get light into the stone, so they put it the right way up, and they raised it to get light in. So let me give you an example. When I shine through the light through the top, it sort of dies somewhat, yeah? See, there's not much to it.
Yes, it's a bit flat, isn't it?
This didn't go down very well in the royal circles. The Koh-i-Noor was known as the Mountain of Light, and the popular satirical press at the time was starting to call it the Mountain of Darkness. And so they decided that they would recut the diamond to Western taste to make it more sparkly. And the end result was this rather shallow cut. That is now what you see in the crown jewels.
Crown jewels, yes.
Big face-up stone, lots of light coming in, being projected out towards you. But of course, this is a 40% loss in weight.
Yeah, they lost a lot of weight.
The original Mogul cut stone.
A lot of carats lost. The loss of the original Koh-i-Noor and its recutting into a diamond more fitting to Western tastes is a powerful symbol of its complex history and the legacy of empire. Something that has been explored by the journalist and author Anita Anand.
It used to belong to a man called Ranjit Singh, the one-eyed king. He was a Sikh Maharaja who managed to unite the whole of northern India into a really powerful empire. And he wore the Koh-i-Noor diamond on his arm. It was a talisman of power. And he was actually the first monarch in a very long time who died peacefully in his sleep. His children spent the next 5 years after his death stabbing, gouging, poisoning and bludgeoning each other to death. Until, in 1839, the last man standing is not a man at all, it's a little boy called Maharaja Duleep Singh. The big diamond sort of drooping off his chubby little arm.
Yeah.
And the British suddenly think, oh, this is new. They undermine the boy king. They manage to take the kingdom. And they say, sign over your kingdom you sign over the Koh-i-Noor diamond, it is over for you. And that is how it passes from Indian ownership to British ownership.
Okay, well, I've got something for you.
Oh, oh.
This is a copy of
Oh, look, the original.
Koh-i-Noor diamond with the Mughal facets.
Do I have to give it back?
Yes, you do.
I've never held this before. That's amazing. It's beautiful.
And this is the recut.
Well, now, this is the one that anyone who goes to the Tower of London will be more familiar with.
Exactly.
Because you have to hold it. It is so much lighter.
So much lighter.
Every time any relative of mine came from India, they all beat a path to the Tower of London. They want to see the Koh-i-Noor, because the Koh-i-Noor means so much.
So symbolic.
So symbolic. It's a symbol of colonial humiliation for many people.
Yeah.
I learnt all my best swear words at the Tower of London, can I say? Because every time we took a relative, they would stand in front of the stone and swear.
And get angry.
And get angry.
Yeah. And is that, in your eyes, a symbol of Britain's possession of India?
It absolutely is. I mean, it was nakedly so. It's like in The Lord of the Rings, one ring to rule them all. It's very much got that kind of status, that the person who has this diamond has power and dominion, and it represents the humiliation of colonialism for many people, which is why it is a really tricky stone. The Pakistanis want it back, the Indians want it back, the Afghans want it back, the Iranians have asked for it back because it was a massive part of the Persian Empire. So, you know, it is through the facet of this diamond you can see so much of history, and all of it's bloody.
And yet, for the British, it is a symbol of this country's identity now as part of the crown jewels. Given the contested legacy, the contested history, so many states believe they have a claim on it. Does it feel that perhaps being part of the crown jewels is perhaps where it should be?
If it stays here, that's fine. This is a wonderful vehicle, a prism to look through the history of why, you know, I'm here, you know, sort of the relationship between Britain and India. I was struck by how emotional I felt holding those two.
The important thing for Anita is that we learn the astonishing history of these objects. It's an extraordinary story, one that has continued into the 20th century, with the crowning of 4 monarchs, culminating in 1953 with the coronation of the Queen.
I mean, I've seen one coronation and been the recipient in the other, which is pretty remarkable.
Our specially shot footage has allowed us to get closer to the crown jewels than ever before, to explore their magnificence, their flaws, and the deep history within them. It has been a powerful journey of discovery, and what I've realized is that the crown jewels are still very valuable to us as a nation today. That value, however, is not in terms of pounds and pence. It's because these objects contain within them the story of these islands, for good or ill. It's a complicated history, one we need to keep exploring and learning from. But one thing is for certain, it's a story that is not finished yet.